Del Rio's back, baby, and I'm not talking about the Jaguars. Frank Del Rio is back, and he's taking it to the media once again. In the early days of the pandemic, Frank Del Rio, the CEO of NCL, that's Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, he was very outspoken during the early days of the pandemic, during the cruise shutdown, taking it to the CDC, taking it to the government of Florida, taking it really anywhere he could, bringing the fight for cruising. And now he's back, lambasting the media for singling out the cruise industry in a very compelling argument that he's made online. Let's read a little bit of what he said. It's very inspiring for me as a travel advisor. A little bit of a pep talk. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what Frank Del Rio has to say about the media. This is a story from Travel Weekly by Joanna Jane Jill. Del Rio said the industry has been unfairly targeted by the media, which is taking advantage of the fact that our industry offers robust testing, that we track cases, and that we diligently report them to the CDC and other public health administrations. It's something that no other industries are required to do, not hotels, resorts, theme parks, airlines, or any other part of hospitality, Del Rio said. So there are different rules for the cruise industry, and those rules, which help public safety, are something that hurts our industry in uncountable ways. They take this news and they sensationalize it for a cheap headline. We're the only industry that they pick on because of our honesty in the way we report cases. It's something we have to live with, but it's certainly something none of us like. He goes on to say, and compare the pandemic to a war. Listen to this. We've lived through one of the most difficult tests that our generation will ever face, he said. Every generation before us has had to fight wars. Typically, it's an enemy combatant, so to speak. In this case of the virus, this pandemic has been our war, a war that has tested our mettle like nothing else I know in my lifetime. And it's a war that we're still fighting, and a war that I am 100% confident we are going to win, and win soon. So you, travel advisors, have been fighting right alongside us. We've got to continue to fight. This is no time to give in. We're almost there. What do you think about Frank Del Rio comparing the pandemic ordeal that the travel industry and cruise industry has faced to a war? I'm curious how that's going to be received. I'd like to know your thoughts on it. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think about that. And let's carry on with our Travel Digest. Other news, Princess Cruise Line is in hot water for violating its probation. Back in 2017, the cruise line got hit with some pretty hefty fines for illegal dumping, being found guilty of some environmental poor practices, environmental atrocities, depending on how you want to look at it, and was brought to task by the government and was asked to pay $40 million at the time. Well, just yesterday, they've been hit again with a $20 million fine. So overall $60 million and an additional $1 million, I believe, thrown in there somewhere. The cruise lines have to understand at this point, and surely by now, they are seeing this. They are the subject of entities that want them to fail. Environmental groups, who I don't know who they are, but the cruise line is not everybody's favorite industry. There are people that would like to see it go away. And they really need to toe the line, especially when they're often touting their environmental stewardship. CLIA has whole pamphlets and courses on the environmental sustainability of cruising, which sounds great, but then they get caught doing something like this. I remember when it came out back in 2017, it was a black eye for the industry. And cruise lines need to understand they need to be minding their responsibility to the environment if they're going to claim that as a selling point, and they have. So, sorry, Princess, but if you're not doing what you need to be doing, if you're not following the rules you set up, then I can't question this fine. So, need to do better, guys. Come on. We can't handle any more of this negative press. In other news, a state in Mexico has started to require vaccines or negative COVID tests to participate in group activities. In contrast with the overall policy set up by the Mexican government, the state of Jalisco, Mexico, where you'll find Puerto Vallarta, a very popular cruise port, very popular destination for Americans, and has been for years, they are now requiring that everyone who is over age 18 have a COVID test or proof of vaccination before going to bars, before going to concerts, stadiums, group events. And for the longest time, Mexico in general has been one of the least restrictive countries for American travelers. You can still enter the country without a positive or without a negative COVID test, without vaccination proof. And so for a huge swath of the country, Cancun is, obviously the big destination where folks are going. The restrictions are very lax. However, we're starting to see some places in Mexico setting up their own restrictions for the safety of their people that are different than the overall national guidelines. So we may see more of that as time goes on. So if you're planning a trip to Puerto Vallarta anytime soon, you may want to go ahead. If you haven't been vaccinated, you might want to do that, or be prepared to take a COVID test when you're there. Well, that's the cruise and travel news for today. I hope you enjoyed this little episode. We try really hard here at the Travel Digest, and by we, I mean me. I try very hard to give you the same stories that you'll get on the other Cruise Tubers channels in a little shorter segments. Same news half the time. That's what I like to say. You've got a lot to do. I've got a lot to do. So no need to draw things out. If you've enjoyed the episode, please subscribe. Love to have you around. The Travel Digest is something that we're doing on a daily basis, and we may be expanding with other videos as time goes on. So we'd love to have you stick around. Join the family here at AMS Travel Sales and Adventure Made Simple.